Our applied innovation is breaking the poverty cycle, providing food to underprivileged families.
I'm Emily Allard.
I'm Maddie Hall.
I'm Alicia Harvat.
I'm Aubrey Herbon.
I'm Kyle Jockey.
And I'm Quentin Rock.
The primary problem we are going to be looking at with our applied innovation is looking at how we can provide food to impoverished and food insecure families. Families in impoverished communities are losing their access and right to healthy and nutritious food options, which is a basic human necessity. We've been researching our innovation on what ways we can create higher accessibility to food, how we can provide more nutritious options, and help lower socioeconomic families. One of the primary impacts of this lower access to food is the perpetuating cycle of poverty. We hope to diminish the cycle of poverty for future generations by starting with the overall accessibility to food. This discussion of food accessibility is so prevalent in times, especially like these, where people need to be provided access to food. We are going to be discussing why and how this cycle of poverty is so prevalent, how we want to diminish it, and how to increase accessibility to food based upon current systems.
People in poverty every day have to make the decision to what to spend their limited budget on. Many individuals in poverty sacrifice food in order to make room for things such as clothes, tissue, soap, and other toiletries. When we think of the inhumane issue of hunger, it's an experience that everyone has felt. Your stomach growls, you begin to feel lightheaded, and you begin to lose focus. There are more than 38 million people living in poverty. Kids are a large part of this number, making up about 11 million. An article from American Aid Board reported that having breakfast and access to food can allow children to be more productive and have higher academic achievements. Beyond education, people who are impoverished have higher rates of poor health and chronic medical conditions. Food insecurity leads to a host of health problems. People who are hungry are 3 times more likely to be in poor health and are more susceptible to chronic conditions. Hunger in impoverished and homeless communities is a growing and significant problem that affects many people on a day-to-day basis, including children.
The main issue of hunger is that it aids in the perpetuation of the cycle of poverty. Children born to low-income parents suffer with hunger, poor health, and poor living conditions. This then leads the child to either miss class due to illness caused by these conditions, or to not pay attention in class, therefore receiving poor education. This lack of quality education usually leads to a lack of opportunity to climb the social ladder and get a job that allows them to rise above the poverty line. This low income then causes the individual and their family to live with food insecurity and poor living conditions, and the cycle is then repeated with the next generation.
Our focus will be on students, children, and the families of these children and students. We will also be focusing on the YMCA programs. We will work with the YMCA to expand to more areas and expand the food options that are available. By expanding, this will help reach more children and students and provide better meals and food to these families.
According to the CDC, a lack of adequate consumption of specific foods, such as fruits, vegetables, or dairy products, is associated with lower grades among students. Additionally, every person has a limited cognitive bandwidth, meaning that someone will spend their limited mental reserves on the things they lack. As such, students who struggle with food insecurity are more likely to focus on their lack of food and pay less attention in class. A student athlete is also more likely to be tired and perform poorly during sports when they do not consume enough calories, carbs, proteins, fluids, iron, vitamins, and other minerals. The toxic stress of living in an environment with inadequate food is detrimental to a child's physical state as well. Chronic exposure to the body's stress hormones can not only impair a child's learning and development, but it can also inhibit their immune system and cause heart problems. On the other hand, students who receive adequate nourishment display increased academic grades and standardized test scores, reduced absenteeism, and improved cognitive performance. Athletes who are well-fed also have the energy they need to finish a race or to just enjoy a casual sport or activity.
A large amount of current solutions can be divided into 2 categories: governmental programs and food pantries and banks. There are a few governmental programs that aid people who are food insecure. We're going to be highlighting 2 of these programs, SNAP and WIC. Our first solution to this program is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP. It is a federal nutrition program that helps you stretch your food budget and buy healthy food. SNAP benefits are given each month on a plastic card called an EBT. This card can be compared to a debit card and can be used to purchase food at grocery stores, convenience stores, certain farmers markets, and co-op food programs. SNAP serves a wide range of low-income households. About 45% are children, 23% are adults living with children, 7% are older adults, and about 15% are adults that are not living with children, and 10% are disabled adults. 12.4% of Americans rely on the benefits that SNAP provides, and SNAP has effectively kept 8.4 million people out of poverty in 2015. A major issue with SNAP, however, is the span of assistance is not effective enough to help all of those in need. Those who are unemployed are unable to receive benefits, which puts a large strain on their families as they attempt to find new jobs. Additionally, those who apply and receive benefits can only purchase certain food products, can only purchase certain foods from certain retailers, and can only receive a fixed amount of benefits. The current administration is now working to reduce the budget for SNAP. It is projected that by 2023, the percent of the national budget that will be allocated to SNAP will fall from over 2% to less than 1%. On April 1st, a new system was put into effect where all able-bodied adults lost their benefits if they were unemployed. These changes will decrease the number of people that SNAP helps and will continue to perpetuate the cycle of poverty for the following generation.
Similar to SNAP, WIC is a governmentally funded program aimed to reduce hunger, specifically among the women, infant, and young family populations. Their primary objective is to give relief to families with food insecurities. Although the program works with local food sources, such as grocery stores and farmers markets, the program does not provide enough through nutritious options, accessibility, and for families with children over the age of 5. The nutritious options are limited through where and how individuals can get food, and their local store stocks food that they can get through WIC. Accessibility issues fall under how the individual can get food and if they are considered qualified for the program at all. The program is meant for families with children under the age of 5, so families with children over 5 are disqualified from the program. Food pantries and banks are another way for people to get food. Food banks are the warehouses and places where food is stored to be distributed to pantries and soup kitchens. The pantries are charities and organizations that distribute the food to those in need. These institutions are for anyone who needs food and are ways for people to get access to food. Feeding America is a nationwide food organization located in almost every state with 200 banks and 60,000 pantries nationwide. They distribute food and other donated necessities to people in need. Second Harvest is a branch of Feeding America located in the middle and western parts of Tennessee. In their inaugural year, they started with 160,000 pounds of food to 75 partnering locations. Today, they send over 10 million pounds of food to 450 partnering locations. Although Second Harvest is an example of expansion, there is still need for more. Food pantries and banks have issues with the way they run. Among these are the issues of needing and relying on community members for support. This includes the need for donations of items and volunteers to run the operations. If any of these steps, donations or volunteers, fall short, then the supplies and manpower are limited to run the operations and people can leave the pantry without enough to feed their household.
The YMCA currently offers an after-school meal program to provide children with nutrition and academic enrichment activities so they can be healthy and succeed in school. 2,500 YMCAs participate in this after-school meal program and 5,200 in just a normal after-school program. Their goal is to help impoverished families provide for their children. They are partnered with the Walmart Foundation, who ensure children have access to meals during out-of-school time when they need them most. As part of their focus on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility, the Y is committed to keeping children nourished all year long by providing learning enrichment and physical activities to keep minds and bodies active while also serving healthy food. Across 5,200 summer and after-school food program sites, the YMCA has collectively served 22 million meals and snacks to children. This diagram is a combination of food insecurity in the United States among children and YMCA locations. We did this overlay to show the relationship between food insecure and locations where the Y's after-school programs run. While the Y system is dedicated to providing children food and enriching their after-school lives, this program has some distinct restrictions. First is that in rural areas such as Montana or Nevada, there is not enough access to these YMCA facilities, so there is a wide population of underprivileged children who cannot benefit from this program.
Our solution will take this YMCA program and expand it to include over 2,700 YMCA facilities in order to provide more accessible locations for meal pickup. In more rural areas that do not have a local Y, such as areas in Nevada and Montana, we will also be partnering with schools and supplying food items and volunteers to those facilities until a YMCA location is opened in those counties. In order to implement this solution, a universal system will be created for all of the remaining 200 Y locations that do not currently implement the after-school or summer meal programs. This system will be centralized in the National Resource Office, which is the main governing body of the organization. Our plan is to increase the number of nationwide full-time employees that are hired by the YMCA, which is currently about 20,000, and recruit more volunteers to help with distributing the food and creating enrichment goals for the children. Through the National Resource Office, we will be also working to open YMCA facilities in more rural areas. 5 YMCA locations were opened or renovated in 2019, and we would like to continue this trend over the next 5 years as our meal programs extend their reach. The renovations to old buildings would include kitchens and areas for food storage in order to allow these locations to participate in the program. We plan to open facilities primarily in areas that don't have any local access, such as northern Nevada, central and southern Utah, eastern Colorado and Wyoming, and eastern Montana, along with many western and southwestern states. While these facilities are being built and staffed, we would like to partner with schools in those areas in order to bring a temporary meal program to the affected children. Every 2 weeks, a shipment of non-perishable food items will be shipped to the schools by the closest Y location, along with a short catalog of how to enrich a child's learning and physical activity at home. As new YMCA buildings are constructed and more employees are hired, the school partnership will be slowly discontinued in order to relocalize all meal programs to the Y organization.
With our applied innovation, our primary goal is to provide food accessibility to food insecure families and those of lower socioeconomic status. With our innovation of providing changes to current solutions to this issue, we are hoping that we can diminish the cycle of poverty over time. Doing this would entail providing nutritious and less wasted foods to families in need through the YMCA food program. Wasted foods are foods that are typically at or past the expiration date, so it is then donated. Improving this program would mean we can provide more access to nutritious food, community resources, and building more YMCA facilities in more rural areas.
Our implied innovation will create more opportunities for children and these families to have more access to nutritious food. By working with the YMCA, we will be decreasing food waste, improving food programs, and increasing availability and access in rural areas. By feeding these children with healthier and more nutritious food, this will allow them to be more productive in class, which will lead them to be more successful in their future. This creates more chances, more opportunities for these families to break the poverty cycle and live a life without worrying where their next meal is coming from.
With our applied innovation, there are some limitations that might arise in our construction. One question is whether or not all YMCA facilities are able to participate in this program. While some YMCA facilities have kitchens, fridges, and areas for storage, others are smaller facilities with no availability for holding this food. With our innovation, we are assuming that YMCA facilities are willing to work with us and in some way participate in the program. For those facilities that do not have kitchen space, they could participate in storing perishable foods such as fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. For facilities that do not have kitchen space, they could be more likely to participate by storing non-perishable foods such as canned goods and dried foods. We also hope that over time we will be able to reconstruct and renovate more YMCA facilities so they are adaptable and accessible for facilities participating in the program. Following participation, we may run into limitations with who in the community is willing to donate materials. Even though Walmart is a partner of the YMCA and helps provide the food, it would be beneficial if communities are willing to participate and contribute food to participating facilities. Having contributions to the program will allow for more nutritious food options and more accessibility for populations that fall into the food insecurity category. For these families, one assumption and limitation we have determined is if and how families will get transportation to these facilities. If families are unable to transport themselves or their families to the participating facilities, it is going to be more difficult to participate in the program. We are hoping that over time, we will be able to determine ways in which we can ensure that all members have accessibility to this program to provide resources for their families.
There are a few good social and economic impacts that our proposed solution would have. Tying into both of these impacts would be the cause of our solution. We would be in essence turning a social responsibility into a business strategy. This would have a positive social impact not only with our system, but with other companies that decide to work with us. This is because people usually have a stronger connection with companies or systems that aim to help a certain cause. Our solution most closely aligns with the sustainability goal of the UN called Zero Hunger. According to this goal, undernutrition continues to affect millions of children. By focusing on providing food to children from underprivileged families, we will be directly addressing this goal. Another goal that we will be addressing less directly is quality education. Although we will not be providing classroom supplies or training teachers, we will be providing students with food to increase productivity and decrease classroom misbehavior. This in turn will provide assistance in the foundation to creating sustainable development. We can then ask the people who participate in our solution to see if it is helping and working for them. This can be done through a survey given at the distributing center location. There also could be interviews to have them express any concerns they may have pertaining to our solution. Survey questions could include how satisfied they are with options for food products, how accessible the location is, and if there are any additional comments to help refine our system. Quantitative data can be collected through counting the items we have and what items people are taking from the units. We can also count the people and see how many people to better spread out our resources. This would then also tie into our economic impact, hopefully creating more business for others working with us and helping our system with more donations. A second major economic aspect of hunger that we analyze is the economic stimulus provided by the nation's network of food banks and the charitable distribution operations they facilitate. These organizations provide jobs and purchase goods and services necessary to their operations. Additionally, by providing food to low-income households, they free up financial resources to be spent for other consumer goods. This spending leads to a notable economic stimulus. Feeding America is a large network of food banks across the United States, which are essentially warehousing and distribution operations. They receive and process inventory and deliver it to thousands of distribution centers, most of which are nonprofit charitable organizations. The Feeding America network and other food banks offer employment opportunities and purchase goods and services from local businesses. Some might say that this is not really addressing the problem of why we have food banks in the first place. The reality is, food banks and other charitable food distribution organizations aren't going anywhere for a long time. Through their operations, food banks lead to an increase in business activity of an estimated $1.5 billion in gross product each year, as well as 16,100 permanent jobs in the United States. The impact of charitable food distribution networks is much larger and is estimated to include $16.5 billion in gross product each year and 220,100 permanent jobs in the United States. Nonprofit workers make up 11.7% of private sector workers. The proportion of nonprofit workers who work full-time is 76.4%, statistically no different than the proportion of for-profit workers who work full-time, which is 73.3%. The proportion of union workers is also statistically equivalent across nonprofit status, 8.6% of nonprofits and 8.9% of for-profits. The chart below from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the relationship between nonprofit and for-profit employee compensation. In terms of wages, health insurance, and retirement and savings, the confidence interval measures the precision of the estimated values, which a high probability of holding the true value.
Overall, our applied innovation has been discovering ways in which current systems in place have been helping food insecure families and providing higher accessibility to nutritious food options. In difficult times like these, increasing outreach for food accessibility will ensure food insecure and lower socioeconomic families will have nutritious options for their families. Helping current programs in place will help to diminish the cycle of poverty for future generations. Providing more accessibility to food will allow for more nutritious options and less wasted food. Coordinating our new applied innovation with our research of the Youth Men's Christian Association, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and the Women, Infants, and Children's Program will allow for more outreach to food accessibility. We hope that over time, more YMCA facilities in more rural or lower socioeconomic areas will begin to open to provide greater food accessibility and community involvement. We hope to provide more accessibility and community outreach to help families in future generations to come. Thank you for your time and listening to our applied innovation. Any comments, questions, or concerns can be addressed to us at the following emails. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.